Life seems unfair.
They say that good things happen to good people, and bad things happen to bad people. This doesn't always feel true. People who have done great things die before they should. It makes life seem unfair, and it is sometimes. People who do bad things get away with it sometimes. Eventually, people's deeds catch up to them. Sean was a good person. He volunteered every week at the animal shelter. He was nice to everyone, even strangers. He took care of his grandparents. Good things should happen to him, right? Unfortunately, Sean just found out that he got laid off at work. This is unfair. However, losing a job when he needed it badly made him very motivated to look for a new job that paid well. Eventually, he found a great job as a teacher in China. Lizzie was a bad person. She stole people's credit card information, yelled at waiters, and used all her friends. Bad things should happen to her, right? Well, Lizzie happened to win $200,000 from a lottery. This is unfair. Justice was served eventually. She was sued for credit card fraud and had to use the money she won to hire a lawyer.
A hero.
Joy, Samantha, and Maggie were walking around town. The weather was nice. Everyone seemed happy. The girls had each other. Just when everything seemed perfect, the girls heard a scream. "That man just took my purse," an old lady shouted. Joy ran after the man without thinking. She was a professional track runner, so she was fast. She caught up to him easily. "Hey, give that bag back," Joy demanded. The man tried to run away, but Joy snatched the bag away from him before he could. A police officer saw the whole thing happening. "I can take it from here," he told Joy. Joy thanked him. "Next time, don't run after criminals. You might get hurt," he said. Joy gave the bag back to the old lady. The old lady was so happy and called Joy a hero. She took out her wallet and gave Joy $50. Samantha and Maggie were impressed with Joy. "You did a great thing, Joy," Samantha said. Joy blushed. She didn't feel like a hero. The next day, the city newspaper wanted to do a story and interview with Joy. Joy decided to do it because a little part of her wanted to be famous.
A mystery man.
Ed Kane was a teacher at Middlebury High School. He taught math. He was known as the Mystery Man. No one knows anything about him or his life. Ed wants to keep it that way. He didn't want to be a teacher. He wanted to be an astronaut, but things didn't work out that way. He came to Middlebury to teach, not to get to know the students. Even though he wasn't the happiest or friendliest teacher, Ed was always willing to help out his students if they needed help. But if they asked about his personal life, he would turn them away. One of the troublemakers in the class, Matt, asked Ed what his plans for the weekend were. "I don't know," Ed said. "Mr. Kane, tell us something about yourself," Matt asked. "That's enough, Matt," Ed said. It wasn't that Ed was embarrassed by his lifestyle, but rather Ed just thought that students should focus on math. If he got too friendly with them, they might think of him as an easy teacher. Ed was married with 2 kids and 1 guinea pig. Ed's hobbies included golfing and swimming. Ed was a very intelligent man and only had 2 close friends.
The career day.
The career day was the time when parents of students came into the classroom to talk about their jobs. Jane brought her dad, who was a bus driver. Jane's dad did not like his job when he was first starting out. After 5 years, he liked it. He liked it because he got to talk to people. Sometimes, though, no one wanted to talk to him. Those days were bad. Jane's dad talked about what he had to do as a bus driver in front of Jane's classmates. "Anyone interested in becoming a bus driver?" Jane's dad asked. No one raised their hand. The next parent going up was Julia's dad. Julia's dad was a firefighter. He dressed up in his firefighter uniform. He talked about his experiences and the crazy fires he had to put out in the past. The students loved Julia's dad. They asked him a ton of questions, and someone even hugged him. Jane's dad felt bad. He left the classroom before the day ended. Jane's teacher ran out of the room to talk to him. "Mr. Lowell, I just wanted to tell you that I have so much respect for what you do." Jane's dad smiled.
A new haircut.
Angie was a fashion model. The modeling industry was a tough world. Although it looks glamorous, it is hard to make it big in the industry. Angie's agent suggested that she get a new haircut to make her stand out. Angie currently had long, blonde hair. She did not have a unique look. Angie didn't want to cut her hair, though. She loved it. Angie and her agent went to a fancy hair salon called Cute Cuts. The hairstylist was world-renowned. "Cut 9 inches off and spike up her hair like a boy's hair," the agent said. Angie was nervous. The hairstylist stroked her long hair. "Are you ready to be a star?" the hairstylist asked. Angie slowly nodded her head. She wasn't ready, but it didn't matter. Angie listened to the classical music while her hairstylist cut her hair. She tried to fall asleep so she wouldn't have to think about her hair. After 45 minutes, the hairstylist removed her hair towel. "Ta-da!" she said. Angie started crying. She thought she looked awful. "You'll feel better once you book jobs," the agent said. Although Angie didn't like her haircut, she admitted that it was going to make her stand out.
The missing water bottle.
Jared has a green water bottle that he brings to school every day. He loves it because it keeps his water cold. It also has a cool robot on it. One day, he loses it. Jared asks his friend Richard if he has seen it. "Yeah, I saw Albert holding it, Richard says. Jared walks over to Albert's locker. Hey, you have my water bottle, right? Jared asks. I did, but I let Denise borrow it, Albert says. Jared goes up to Denise. Hey, do you have my water bottle? Denise shakes her head and says, I thought it was cool looking, so I showed Amanda. She has it now. Jared goes to Amanda. Amanda, tell me you have my water bottle. Amanda shakes her head. I thought it was Lucas's, so I gave it to him. Jared screams in frustration. Jared goes to Lucas. Do you have my water bottle? Jared asks. I gave it to Richard to give to you, Lucas says. That was weird, since Richard was the first person he asked about the water bottle. Jared went back to Richard. Lucas said you had my water bottle, Jared said. I told you, I saw Albert hold it. Lucas probably meant Richard Lopez, not me, Richard said. I'm just going to buy a new water bottle, Jared said. He bought a blue one this time.
Celebrity idol.
Elliot was a huge fan of The Cooker. The Cooker was a rapper who was known for his deep voice and super fast rapping. The Cooker's real name was Theodore Cook. Elliot had tickets to his sold-out concert in San Francisco. It was the first time he would see him in person. He also had backstage tickets so he could talk to him. Elliot drove to San Francisco with some friends to see The Cooker. They had pretty good seats. They could see his sweat. The Cooker was great live. His voice sounded the same as it did on the radio. Some singers can't sing live. The Cooker wasn't one of them. Elliot waved his hands up in the air. He closed his eyes and listened to the music. After the concert, Elliot and his friends went backstage. Elliot was so excited that he screamed when he saw the Cooker. The Cooker closed his ears. Elliot ran up to him. I am your biggest fan. Can I have an autograph and a picture? Elliot asked. The Cooker rolled his eyes. Sure, I guess. Elliot noticed that the Cooker was annoyed. You know what? Forget it. I don't want a jerk's autograph, Elliot said. He realized that some celebrities were just mean.
A female boxer.
Emma's dream was to be a boxer. All her life, she was told that she couldn't be a boxer because she was a girl. She was told that she should just get a regular job. Her parents told her that she would be killed one day if she kept boxing. It was hard to hear "you can't" all the time. Emma was still determined to prove everyone wrong. Emma's life was hard. Girls didn't like her because they thought she was too manly. Guys didn't like her because they thought she wasn't as good at boxing as they were. Because of all this, Emma didn't have any friends at school. She always sat alone in the cafeteria, and it was hard for her to find partners for group projects. However, Emma did have friends from her boxing class. They were all female boxers. They understood what Emma was going through because they were in the same position. All they had was each other. They were a family. Because of this, Emma was always excited for boxing class. One day, she was going to be a famous boxer. Only then would everyone regret how they treated her.
Letters of recommendation.
Claire was applying to private schools. Most private schools required letters of recommendation. Claire did not know who to ask. She felt like her teachers did not know her that well. Claire asked her teachers anyways. Some of them said yes, and some of them said no. 1 week later, Miss Hershey gave Claire a letter of recommendation in an envelope. Claire wasn't supposed to open it, but she really wanted to know what Miss Hershey wrote. Claire carefully tore it open and read the letter. She was disappointed. Miss Hershey didn't write anything interesting about Claire. Ms. Hershey just wrote that Claire was a smart, nice girl. Claire couldn't get into her top schools with that letter. Claire asked her swim coach to write her a letter of recommendation. Her swim coach knew her well. The problem was that the swim coach wasn't the best writer. He did not go to college. Claire asked him to write a letter anyways. "Of course I'll write you a letter. I'll even send it to you," he said. 1 week later, Claire got an email from her swim coach. She was nervous to read what he wrote. Claire was impressed with the letter. Her swim coach was really funny, yet intelligent in the letter.
The transformation.
Evan was in his last year of middle school. He was 4 feet and 11 inches. He weighed 140 pounds. He was bald. He had no friends. He had a 0.00 GPA. His life was going nowhere. He was struggling with so much because his parents recently passed away. He wanted to transform himself, though, so he could have a fresh start in high school. Evan went to a therapist who told him that he had to make small changes first. The therapist told him that he had to start with the easier things. Evan bought hair growth treatment to fix his baldness problems. He started talking to people more to make friends. He realized that he just had to express himself. He started to study more instead of crying about his parents. He started to eat healthier to lose weight. When Evan entered high school on the very first day, he was a totally different person. His classmates could not recognize him. Evan was now 5'9", muscular, smart, and popular. He also had a head full of hair. Everyone wanted to be friends with him. Most important of all, Evan was finally happy.
An interrupted wedding.
Frances and Ryan were getting married. They dated for 5 years before Ryan proposed. They were both artists who enjoyed peace and quiet. They wanted a simple wedding with their closest friends and family. They decided to have their wedding in the backyard of Ryan's house. Frances did not want to spend too much money on a dress, so she made her own. Ryan felt the same way and borrowed his dad's suit. Although their wedding wasn't perfect, Frances and Ryan loved each other. The minister asked Frances if she would take Ryan as her husband. Frances said, "I do." The minister then asked Ryan if he would take Frances as his wife. Before he could say yes, someone screamed no. Ryan and Frances looked to the audience. It was Ryan's ex-girlfriend, Karen. Ryan demanded her to be taken out. Ryan's brothers carried Karen out, but Karen bit their arms. She ran up to Frances and ripped her dress. Frances pushed Karen. Ryan told Karen that she needed to leave. Karen wouldn't leave until Ryan called the police. Other than Karen interrupting, the wedding was perfect. Ryan and Frances knew they were going to be together forever.
Snoring.
Jill and Dan have been married for 10 years. Jill loves Dan, but she hates his snoring. It is so loud and disgusting. Oftentimes, his snoring wakes her up, and she can't go back to sleep. One night, Dan's snoring was so loud, Jill decided to sleep on the couch. She slept well on the couch. The next morning, Jill's son Timmy saw her sleeping on the couch. He thought that she had a fight with his dad. "Mommy, are you and Dad getting a divorce?" Timmy asked. Jill laughed and hugged Timmy. "No, Timmy, your dad just snores a lot." Timmy asked if she snored. Jill wasn't sure. Later, Jill asked Dan if she snored. "Yeah, it sounds like a cat meowing," Dad said. "Is that a bad thing?" Jill asked. "Well, it's kind of annoying, but I deal with it," Dan said. Jill was embarrassed that she snored. She went to the doctor to see if she could do anything about it. The doctor gave her a few tips, but said that there was no medicine or cure for snoring. Jill went back home disappointed. "All this time I thought you were the annoying snorer, but I guess I am too," Jill said. "Hey, that's what makes us perfect together," Dan said.
No vote, no opinion.
In the United States, you can pretty much vote for who you want to be president if you are 18 years or older and a U.S. citizen. People don't realize how great this is. In some countries, power is passed on to relatives, and the people don't get any say in who the leader of the country should be. However, a lot of people in the United States, especially young people, do not vote. There are many reasons why people don't vote. Firstly, they don't believe their vote matters. The truth is, everyone's vote matters. Secondly, they don't think that anything will change if they vote. Although it's hard to see big changes right away. The presidential candidate you vote for affects many policies. Thirdly, people are lazy to go out of their houses to vote. This is the worst excuse. People need to realize that voting is a privilege. Imagine if we couldn't vote. we would feel out of the loop. We would feel that our opinion doesn't matter. If you don't vote for a candidate, then you have no right to complain about the president who will be elected.
School mascot.
Lisa needed a job to pay for a car. She needed a car so she could get to school and other places more easily. Lisa saw an ad looking for a school mascot. It was paying $12 an hour, which was a lot for a high school student. She went to the tryouts. The interviewer asked Lisa why she wanted the job and why she thought she would be a good fit. Lisa said that she was very proud of being a tiger and would love to get other students excited about the school's sports teams. Lisa found out that she got the job. Her first day of work would be at the football game tonight. When she got to the football field, she put on her costume and her tiger head. It was smelly and hot inside. She kept thinking about how she needed a car. Then she overheard someone say that it would suck to wear the tiger costume. Lisa felt bad about the job. Lisa's high school football team won. The crowd got up from their seats and cheered. A lot of people wanted to take a picture with the tiger. Lisa spent an hour just taking pictures. After the day was over, Lisa thought about how much money she made. It was the only thing keeping her going.
The acne problem.
While most teenagers had acne, a condition where one gets a lot of pimples, Melinda had great skin. Her skin was perfectly smooth, with no flaws whatsoever. She thinks she got her smooth skin from her parents. She also might have smooth skin because she drinks a lot of water. Having acne is tough because teenagers care a lot about their appearance and what other people think of them. Having acne can cause people to feel bad about themselves, shy away from others, and not go out. Melinda doesn't have this problem, but her sister, Ivana, does. Ivana didn't understand why she had acne because no one in her family had it. Ivana ate fairly healthy too. She felt like she was just unlucky. Because of her acne, Ivana felt insecure about herself. It was hard for her to be confident. She always tried to avoid attention. She barely talked to anyone. Ivana decided to try Proactive because she kept seeing it on TV. It ended up improving her skin. It was less red and bumpy. Meanwhile, Melinda got her very first pimple, and it was on the day of her big speech in class. It was horrible timing. That's the thing about pimples, though. They just appear out of nowhere.
Moving schools.
Catherine was moving schools because she was being bullied at her old school. She liked the teachers, her classes, and her friends at her old school, but the bullying was so bad. The girls would call her mean names, trip her, and embarrass her in front of other classmates. They bullied her because she was an easy target. Catherine wore a hearing aid and she was disabled. Catherine's new school was a private Christian school. She had to wear a uniform and pray between classes. Catherine was okay with praying, but she didn't like the uniform. She always liked expressing herself with clothes. Now, she could only wear the clothes she wanted on the weekends. Although there were no bullies, her classmates were hard to get along with. Catherine felt like her personality was so different from theirs. Her classmates were very serious, quiet, and kind of boring.
Started from the bottom.
Right now, Eileen is a famous fashion designer. She started from the bottom, though. She was raised by a single mother with 5 other siblings. There was barely enough to eat. In fact, there were a lot of days when she just ate an apple and a slice of bread. Eileen also lived in a bad neighborhood where hearing gunshots was normal. Eileen didn't do well in school either. She had a hard time focusing and often fell asleep while her teachers were talking. It was hard to think about George Washington or the scientific theory when you had personal problems. Because she didn't do well in school and she needed money, Eileen didn't go to college. She immediately worked at a clothing store as a cashier. Eileen would sketch designs during her break time. One lucky day, the owner at the time saw her designs and was impressed. He offered Eileen a position as a designer. Eileen worked for her boss for 5 years before starting her own company called Bottomless. There are now Bottomless stores in over 100 countries. Eileen has been on many talk shows speaking about her rise to success.
Eyebrow waxing.
Clara always thought her eyebrows were too bushy. Having good eyebrows was becoming a very popular trend among girls. Clara's friend Rachel offered to take her to a salon to wax her eyebrows. Clara didn't like that idea. She didn't want a stranger to be so close to her face. Rachel offered to give Clara waxing products so she can fix her eyebrows herself. Clara said okay. Clara went over to Rachel's house to get the eyebrow waxing material. She then went to Rachel's bathroom. Clara was nervous. What if she did it wrong? She slowly spread the wax on her eyebrows. A couple minutes later, she pulled the wax off. "Ouch!" Clara yelled. Clara looked in the mirror. Her eyebrows were gone. She had accidentally pulled off too much of it. She screamed. Rachel went in the bathroom to check on her. "I heard screaming. What's wrong?" Rachel asked. Clara turned around and pointed at her face. Rachel tried to hide her laugh. "It's not funny," Clara said. "Well, it kinda is because you were worried that you had too much hair before, and now you have none," Rachel said. Clara always thought her eyebrows were too bushy. Having good eyebrows was becoming a very popular trend among girls. Clara's friend Rachel offered to take her to a salon to wax her eyebrows. Clara didn't like that idea. She didn't want a stranger to be so close to her face. Rachel offered to give Clara waxing products so she can fix her eyebrows herself. Clara said okay. Clara went over to Rachel's house to get the eyebrow waxing material. She then went to Rachel's bathroom. Clara was nervous. What if she did it wrong? She slowly spread the wax on her eyebrows. A couple minutes later, she pulled the wax off. "Ouch!" Clara yelled. Clara looked in the mirror. Her eyebrows were gone. She had accidentally pulled off too much of it. She screamed. Rachel went in the bathroom to check on her. "I heard screaming. What's wrong?" Rachel asked. Clara turned around and pointed at her face. Rachel tried to hide her laugh. "It's not funny," Clara said. "Well, it kinda is, because you were worried that you had too much hair before, and now you have none," Rachel said.
Christmas spirit.
Kenneth and Leslie raised their kids to have Christmas spirit. They do all the Christmas traditions, everything from decorating the house with lights to putting a star on top of the Christmas tree. The kids even think that Santa Claus is real. This all changed when Kenneth and Leslie's son Thomas saw Kenneth putting a bunch of Christmas presents under the Christmas tree late at night. Thomas gasped. He was upset that his parents lied to him. "Mom, Dad, why didn't Santa come this year? I saw you two putting gifts under the tree," he said. Kenneth and Leslie looked at each other with worries. "Well, son, the truth is, Santa didn't have time to put them under the tree, so he gave them to me and your mom," Kenneth said. Leslie was impressed with her husband's ability to come up with a lie so quickly. "You know, a lot of kids at school say that Santa isn't real," Thomas said. "Well, they're lying, honey. They just want to make you feel bad," Leslie said. "Really? Well, can you prove it by bringing me to Santa Claus?" Thomas asked. "Well, we can bring him to you," Kenneth said. An hour later, Kenneth entered the house in a Santa Claus costume. Kenneth and Leslie raised their kids to have Christmas spirit. They do all the Christmas traditions, everything from decorating the house with lights to putting a star on top of the Christmas tree. The kids even think that Santa Claus is real. This all changed when Kenneth and Leslie's son Thomas saw Kenneth putting a bunch of Christmas presents under the Christmas tree late at night. Thomas gasped. He was upset that his parents lied to him. "Mom, Dad, why didn't Santa come this year? I saw you two putting gifts under the tree," he said. Kenneth and Leslie looked at each other with worries. "Well, son, the truth is, Santa didn't have time to put them under the tree, so he gave them to me and your mom," Kenneth said. Leslie was impressed with her husband's ability to come up with a lie so quickly. "You know, a lot of kids at school say that Santa isn't real," Thomas said. Well, they're lying, honey. They just want to make you feel bad, Leslie said. Really? Well, can you prove it by bringing me to Santa Claus? Thomas asked. Well, we can bring him to you, Kenneth said. An hour later, Kenneth entered the house in a Santa Claus costume.